Dear guests, 100 years ago, Gustav Komppa published a total synthesis of camphor. This was an extraordinary scientific event because it has been considered by many as the first total synthesis of a complex natural product. The synthesis of camphor was the starting point for scientific research of ever more complex and intriguing natural products. Today, we have gathered to honor this special event in history of science, and it is appropriate to take a look not only at the future of organic chemistry and organic synthesis, but to also make a journey into the past and see how Helsinki University of Technology and especially the Department of Chemistry have evolved during the past 100 years. Our journey begins from the autonomous Grand Duchy of the Russian Empire and from the hallways and colonnades of the old buildings of Boulevard Street in Helsinki and ends here at modern facilities of Otaniemi campus. In the 19th century, Finland was an autonomous part of the Russian Empire. During the first decades of the century, it became evident that technical education should be arranged more efficiently in Finland. The history of Helsinki University of Technology began on 1849 when a technical school, Teknillinen reaalikoulu in Finnish, was founded in Helsinki. The school had rented facilities at Aleksantterinkatu 50. From the first years on, chemistry had an important role in the school. The schoolmaster Anders Olivier Seelan was himself a chemist and he taught chemistry and technical chemistry at the school. He remained the schoolmaster for 25 years. In 1872, Technical School of Helsinki evolved into college level and it became Helsinki Institute of Polytechnics. The rented facilities at Aleksantterinkatu weren't sufficient anymore, and the Polytechnic got its own facilities. The main building of Helsinki Institute of Polytechnics was ready in 1877 and it was situated in Hietalahti marketplace in Helsinki. The other facilities the Polytechnic had were the laboratories of chemistry. This is a floor plan of the first floor of the laboratories of chemistry. The plan dates from the year 1897. The facilities for organic chemistry are on the right. There are also rooms for teachers, a library and an auditorium on the first floor. This is the facade of the laboratories of chemistry. The building was in Boulevard Street in Helsinki opposite to Sinebrychoff's brewery. Gustav Neumann, the late professor of organic chemistry during 1954 to 1972, tells about the laboratories at Boulevardi. Once there was a glorious time when even the old laboratory was new. It was just built and it was fine. The year was 1900. The laboratory of chemistry was a sight in Helsinki back then, and people who were interested in chemistry came to see it. The location opposite to the brewery was in no doubt a very pleasant coincidence for young technical students. Professor Neumann told about a funny incident. Some students of chemistry from the University of Helsinki were on an excursion to the new laboratories. It was a very warm summer day and one of the hosting technical students asked whether guests would like some beer. Of course they did, and for their amazement, the hosting student opened a tap next to a sink and poured the drinks. How could this be? The technical student explained that while the laboratories were under construction, the Sinebrychoff brewery kindly allowed them to draw a pipe to their tanks, where there was a meter which showed the consumption of beer, according to which the technical students would be billed. The guests were very impressed, but after they left, the student behind this prank closed the branch pipe and removed the beer barrel behind the wall that was really going to the Society of Technical Students. About the same time, when the Polytechnic's laboratories of chemistry were ready, Gustav Komppa was nominated the teacher of general chemistry. The position was changed into professorship when Helsinki Polytechnic became university in 1908. Komppa held the academic chair for almost 4 decades. The year 1908 was important for Finland because Helsinki University of Technology was the first technical university in our country. The role of chemistry remained very important. This also showed in the opening ceremony of the new technical university, where Professor Gustav Komppa gave a presentation about the latest scientific achievements of chemistry. The amount of students at Helsinki University of Technology rose steadily, and by the end of the 1930s it was about 1,000. In the beginning of the 1930s, students of the Department of Chemistry graduated either from organic or from inorganic chemistry. It was a serious setback for Helsinki University of Technology and also for its chemistry department. The Teekkari magazine tells about the events of the 30th of November in 1939, when the Winter War broke out. At 14:47 there was a sound of shots of anti-aircraft weapons, and immediately after that the alarm sirens went off, and after a few seconds bombs were dropping on our university. Behind the clouds the enemy aircrafts had managed to get above the city. Nearly 20 bombs hit the university's main building and the laboratories of chemistry. The largest bombs were estimated to weigh around 100 kilos. The laboratories of chemistry were severely damaged. The upper floors were destroyed entirely, and the interior of the entire building suffered greatly. Luckily there were only few people inside during the bombing, but unfortunately casualties couldn't totally be avoided. For example, Professor Sihvonen, who was on his way to the laboratories, lost his life. During wartime, the amount of students dropped to around 500, of which 120 studied at the chemistry department. This was natural because young men had to serve on the frontier. During the semester of 1941 and 42, there was no teaching at all. The damages of the Winter War to the laboratories were repaired in the summer of 1940, but during the Continuance War in 1944 there was some more damage done to the laboratories, and unfortunately the oldest wing of the building, where Gustav Komppa's own private laboratory was situated, was totally destroyed. Even if most of the damage had been repaired, first students after the war had to use scaffolds to move around the building, and as late as in 1949 temporary wooden bridges were used. After the war years, the amount of students rose rapidly, and it was obvious that the current facilities of Helsinki University of Technology weren't sufficient. Still, the more urgent problem to solve was the student housing issue. Technical students needed somewhere to live while studying. Problem was really acute because Helsinki was suffering from severe housing shortage after wartime. The solution was to move both the university and the student dorms outside the city. All kinds of plans were made and different sites were suggested, but finally the scenic area of Otaniemi, Espoo was chosen. The Helsinki University of Technology and the Student Union backed each other in this big project and worked in cooperation. An administrative committee was founded to make the necessary preparations for make the Otaniemi project happen. As their first task, the committee held an architectural competition. The famous Finnish architect Alvar Aalto won with his master plan of Otaniemi, Ave Alma Mater. Here's a picture from the 1940s of the site where the main building of the Helsinki University of Technology was going to be built. The main building was ready in 1962. President Urho Kekkonen was at the opening ceremony, where he pricked the foundation stone. The man on the right is Rector Jaakko Rahola. The Helsinki Olympic Games of 1952 were a major event for Finland, but they were also very significant for technical students of Otaniemi. In 1947, the Student Union of Helsinki University of Technology decided that they would work together with the university in planning the accommodation for the athletes of the possible future Helsinki Olympic Games. The idea was to use the student houses of Otaniemi as quarters for athletes of the Olympic Games. The Olympic Committee was approached by the Student Union through an old member, Arvo Tanila. His message was encouraging. Helsinki would most likely get the Games in 1952. Wheels started rolling. The final contract with the Olympic Committee was made in 1951, and during the Olympic Games, 1,400 Olympic athletes lived in Otaniemi student houses. The funding of the student housing in Otaniemi was entirely up to the students and their supporting societies. The foundation of Jenni and Antti Vihuri donated 1,000 marks for student housing of Otaniemi, and Finnish construction companies donated valuable materials, but most of the funding had to be raised from the open market one way or another. Technical students organized many fundraising events. Volunteer work was also important in the student housing project, and it was especially needed when the Bank of Finland sponsored the project by donating the tiles of the Embassy of Soviet Union, which was badly damaged during the war. According to the contract with the Bank of Finland, the embassy had to be torn down, so there was plenty of work. The amount of tiles that were used at the Otaniemi construction site was about 800,000. At the same time, there was a work camp in Otaniemi for foreign students. 140 Americans and 60 students from other countries participated in constructing the roads and cleaning the tiles. The picture of this American girl cleaning the tiles was taken during the camp. The photo spread to the international press and gave good publicity for Student Union and the student housing project. It was very essential to get the public opinion to back the students' housing project of Otaniemi, and many fundraising events were planned so that they would interest the media. The Student Union participated, for example, in the marketing campaign of the Vienna House of Commerce in Finland by organizing some of the events. In the September of 1950, there was an Austria Week in Helsinki, which climaxed to a concert by Wien Philharmonics, conducted by Wilhelm Furtwängler. Student Union managed to arrange a meeting between Furtwängler and the world-famous Finnish composer Jean Sibelius. The Otaniemi student housing project got once again outstanding media attention. Finnish construction companies donated material, but also some Finnish artists helped the cause. Famous Finnish sculptor Väinö Aaltonen gave the Student Union exclusive rights in November of 1950 to sell the Paavo Nurmi runner statue miniatures for fundraising purposes. Later, Aaltonen also gave Student Union the rights to sell the Aino statue. Aino is a figure from the Finnish national epic Kalevala. Now our journey into the history ends here with the figure of Gustav Komppa and to his aphorism that he himself completely fulfilled. A true chemist is a person who does research because he can't help doing it.